PCD.
Okay, that's what I was curious about, trying to figure it out.
Go ahead and get started. Everybody stand and say the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We'll cut you off.
Call please.
Tim Brown,
Here.
Brad Decker,
Here.
Deborah Hendrickson. Here. Joe Saylor,
Here.
Richard Hill.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. Carmen, invocation please.
Dear Heavenly Father, we gather here today in your presence to conduct the town of the business of the town. We ask for your blessing and guidance. Help us to support the town in the best manner possible. And we do this in your name. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you. Approval of the agenda tonight. Do we have any concerns, questions?
I'm good.
Mr. Godecker, anything? You guys good? Okay. Minutes from March 12th, 2024.
Make a motion to approve the minutes. March 12, 2020, no. Minutes for, well, mine says March 12, 2024, yes.
Yes.
March 12th, yeah. Do we have a second on the minutes?
I'll second.
Devin, Joe. Vote please.
Tim Brown,
Yes.
Brad Decker,
Yes.
Deborah Hendrickson,
Yes.
Joe Saylor,
Yes.
Richard Hill.
Yes.
Passed 5-0.
Voucher packets 4/9/2024. Any questions, concerns on the voucher packets at all?
On the sewer one, the first on-site plumbing repairs, what was that for? Plumbing repairs? 112,000? It says plumbing repairs due to freezing. It was what? It says 112,000 from the Sprint count.
Plumbing repairs were only 8,000.
But there was the, working on the fire department was that, the bigger amount.
Is that the fire department, part of the fire department's new trailer permit or no?
For tornado?
Rebuild, it's the rebuild for the fire department. That's one that's out of the repair.
The notes don't go far enough so you can see everything.
Yeah, the plumbing repair was 8,000. We tried to drain it. We didn't have no way to hook air to it. But they went through, fixed all the piping, and they started it.
And who's Maddox Industrial?
That's for the handrail repair of the sewer plant.
That's the only ones I have.
I'll move to approve voucher packet. 4/9/24.
We have a second. Take a roll call vote, please.
Yes.
Hendrickson,
Yes.
Yes.
Richard Hill.
Yes. Melissa, financial reports? Or Carmen? Both of you?
Just to run through the fund balance, March 31st was $92.62 with about 70, almost 71,000 in revenue and about 132 on the sewer operating fund balance, $525,173.87. Revenue is similar to how it has been the last few months, as well as the expenditures on that. Sewer improvement balance is $567,594.88. As you can see, revenue and disbursements are nothing significant there. The water operating balance is $409,979.41. The revenue is fairly similar. Disbursements, there is a correction that Melissa is in the process of getting taken care of with the Department of Revenue. That's what DOR is. So that is being corrected as we speak, which is why that disbursement is such a high number. Do you want to explain like how the Department of Revenue is requesting we pay our sales tax now?
I got a letter in January that they were changing it from our yearly payment to monthly. So, being first in, I paid January for all of 23, which came out of our budget for the 2024, because that's when it was due to be paid. Then, in February, I paid it again, but I thought it was for January's taxes. So it was way off. So I have amended the paper, the report, and it's changed. So I'm just waiting for them to double check it, make sure I get the rest of the money back. It'll take about 30 days is what they're telling me.
And these are sales taxes we collect from the utility customers
Right.
and then turn and pay to the state. So it's just, we're kind of a pass-through. So that's kind of where, but again, we've got that error kind of found and corrected and in process.
We used to be annual filer, and now apparently we moved this to monthly.
Yes, because we bring in too much money for taxes. They don't.
Our sales tax went up.
So we're average about a little over 8,000 a month that I've paid every month in April, because I paid March, February, and January, except for that little that I fixed, that we're working on fixing.
Approximately 30 days before we get a credit back to our account, or?
Yes.
Okay.
And then the water improvement balance is $437,766.51, and you can see there was very minimal brought in and expended. So that's all we have on what is fund balances.
Thank you. Special guest matters? Is that?
There's nobody here. The library may come next month.
Oh, is that just the placeholder for apologize? Okay.
Like, who's
I don't
coming
read
to the door,
everything.
like-
Myself in trouble. Ordinance 2024-05.
I'll do a quick recap, and then Stephen can help fill in, and then we have folks here from Gradison to speak on the water development. As you recall, last month, this was presented to you all. The Planning Commission at that time put forward an unfavorable recommendation, but after discussion, you all had made some changes and added in some commitments that the developer was agreeable to. It was approved, but it had to go back to the Planning Commission for them to consider those commitments. With that being said, the staff report did get modified, taking in the new commitments into consideration. The staff did give a favorable recommendation, but the Planning Commission still forwarded back to you guys an unfavorable recommendation. Stephen might be able to elaborate on that, but again, we've got the developer here to state their case as to why we should approve this.
The only thing I would add is that the Plan Commission voted, I think it was 4 to 1, to disapprove the amendment, which then by statute brings it back to you to confirm. And if you confirm it within 45 days, then it takes effect. If you don't confirm it within that 45 days, then it's deemed rejected or defeated and does not go into effect. And you can also proactively, if you wanted to decide, we don't want this, do a motion to rescind. That would be, those are basically your two choices. If you want to move forward with it as you approved it, then you would make a motion to confirm it. Mind, the opposite direction, would be a motion to rescind. Or just do nothing and let 45 days run.
Yes, sir.
Hi, guys. Back at it again. I brought the same presentation. I don't want to bore you with all that. I think you guys remember what we talked about a month ago. Nothing has changed. Plan Commission's position is still the same as it was the last time we were here. That hasn't changed. I think primarily it's an architecture difference that, from what I understand, Plan Commission just doesn't seem to like this architecture as much as maybe what they liked. With Arbor, as we said last time, we're really looking for 6 changes to the PUD. Allow lap siding, cement lap siding along with the brick and stone. Removing the vinyl siding, I think that was a pretty big thing we talked about. Right now, you can have all vinyl on the sides, and we've agreed to remove that and no vinyl siding. We've modified the wainscot just for the front elevation. We've gone back to the standard R3 setback, which after we all talked about that last time, I think nobody wanted the staggered. It was creating more of an issue, so we'll go back to the R3 standard. Modify that side yard setback, reduce it to 15 feet, just to allow for those 3-car garages. And then again, approve these Ryan Homes architecture, which we went through last time. If you remember, Arbor had this project. They ended up leaving for whatever reason, decided they weren't going to go with it. We've picked it up with Ryan Homes. Ryan Homes does not offer a product similar to what Arbor was approved, which brought us here today. These amendments are simply to allow this product that Arbor builds. Brought it in the packet, which you should have. If you saw the pictures from last time, and the pictures I took from an active development in Whitestown, where they're selling this exact product with 2- and 3-car garages with hardy all around. It looks fantastic when you're out there. The pictures, I think, did as good a justice as it could do. We're excited about this project. I do think it's important to remember where we are. We've got the train tracks there. We've got IMI. We've got some commercial activity right around the area and more industrial style activity. This is a difficult, challenging piece when you look at those things, and we think this is going to be the most successful product right in this area. And appreciated your support at the last meeting, and just ask that you confirm that last vote, and we're excited to go get busy on this development. So I'm here to answer any questions. Got Mark and Brian Gravison here as well. And just ask for your vote of support to allow us to continue with these changes.
Can you tell me how much they're starting at?
It's going to vary. Like, I don't think any of these homes for Ryan Homes are going to start anywhere below 325. And my guess is most of them will be 350 and up. It's hard to get some of these, again, with all the hardy up in, I'll say Westfield, most of them were well over 4. Or sorry, in Whitestown, most of them were mid to upper 4s. Which I think, again, with what we anticipate for lot prices, somewhere between 350 and 4.25 is where you're going to see most of these homes. And again, happy to answer any other questions that you have.
So you met all the suggestions that we had when you're at the last planning commission.
Yeah.
It went back to the, our town council went back to the planning commission. So
if you remember, Rich, real quick, when we were here, we waited till the end. Stephen rewrote the ordinance incorporating all of the changes that we all sat here and discussed. You guys voted on that 4-1. It had to go back to planning commission because there were some changes. their position essentially was still the same regardless. I mean, we presented those changes to them at that same first meeting. They were, they didn't seem to like the architecture at that point either. So really nothing has changed from when we were here last time, except for procedurally, we had to go back to Plan Commission because you guys accepted those
Correct.
changes. So nothing else has changed in any way, shape, or form since I was here on March 12th.
Carmen, can you shed any light on why, I guess it came back disapproved again?
I did not, I was not at the plan
You-
commission,
okay.
but the staff report did provide a favorable recommendation. But the plan commission doesn't have to take that recommendation.
I can,
Reading the minutes of the plan commission,
those are draft minutes that were provided to you to give you some sense as to what the discussion was and why.
looks to me like the plan commission initially didn't voted down a motion to approve and then voted down a motion to turn unfavorable. And then having reconsidered it and then voted to disapprove. Look, I'm looking through the kind of stated reasons here. In regard to the step, or as best I can tell.
Yeah, and I don't think that's any different from the first Plan Commission meeting, you know, and I think as I talked to you guys last month, you know, you can grab 50 people, put them in a room, and you'll have 49 ideas about what, you know, what people like and what people don't like. We're confident this is we believe this is a better product than what was originally proposed. We're in the business of selling homes. We're not gonna put a home out there that we don't believe is gonna be successful. And again, we're excited about the opportunity to make these changes and move on with the site with Ryan Homes.
I don't have a question for you. I mean, I think that this is an improvement, personally, on what we initially approved, on the criteria of the planned unit development. And so like they've done a couple things, that I think are a market improvement, plus this is a relationship that we have existing with Radisson, Ryan Homes that, I think we're pretty happy as a town with the way Briar Creek turned out and continues to turn out. And so I'm going to, I hate the idea of not following Plan Commission advice, because I definitely appreciate their service and all of that. But in this particular one-off case, their recommendation. And so I just wanted to state that to my fellow council members that, I mean, I think that this seems like a pretty good project for this piece of ground. And so I do that reservation. I don't really care what the planning commission states. That is definitely not the case. In this case, though, I will be voting to approve this.
Jim, did you catch anything in the meeting minutes that were off color a little bit?
Well, they seem to be, the thing that, there are a few things that seemed a little different to me, one being the reference to, I'm taking this from the approach of a homeowner and what I want with property values and that sort of thing. I don't know. There's nothing in the minutes that makes me feel any differently than I did last time.
Do you get-
Probably makes me feel more strongly about the way that I felt last time, which is the same way Brad feels.
Did you get the feeling that it was their preference as a homeowner?
That's how it's written, but that's also a summarization
I
of,
mean, but there wasn't anything legally or that we were doing wrong.
no, my read of it was that it was aesthetic.
That's what I'm thinking, yeah.
But they're planning commissioning for a reason, is they take the best interests of the town. And I'm not gonna change, because if planning says they don't agree with it, then that's kind of how I feel about it. So I'm not gonna change from where I started. But like I said, I think if we put them there, then we ought to really take in consideration of what they go through to do their job and not discredit them in any way, and try to just stay with them as close as possible. Do I think this is a good product? Yeah, but there's, for some reason, planning and zoning has, they have a little bit of problem with it, and I can't get a handle on it either, so it's.
I mean, I don't feel like they gave a good reason.
And that bothers me too.
Yeah.
But
But with our staff whom we trust,
No,
says yes, so.
I know.
This is a hard one. I mean, to me, I guess, plan commission is legal, the legal term for it is an advisory plan commission. They are here to advise us. They don't really have the ability to bind us, other than that if they advise us against it, we have to consider it twice. But ultimately, and it's reflected in the minutes, as one of the plan commission members said, well, it's not actually up to us, so why would we change our initial? Well, I have a little bit of a problem with, if it got sent back by the body that appoints you, for you to reconsider it and just saying, well, I'm not gonna reconsider it, I have a bit of a problem with that. But once again, those minutes are minutes, and I'm certainly not going to say that they are quotations or anything like that, but reading through them, there's nothing in there that would make me feel that I wouldn't want to support this. And I'm also the kind of guy who's very much, my default position is that if a person owns a piece of property, that's their property, and I will always deviate on the side of that they can do what they would like with their own property, as long as they're not infringing upon the rights and others. And I don't see this butts up against the railroad tracks and butts up against the Greenwood development. It's really similar. I don't see where this is infringing on anybody else. So my default position is going to be to support allowing them to do what they want on their own property.
Carmen, to go back with the original arbor, which obviously there are upgrades with this, but the planning commission had a favorable recommendation with the old arbor, right?
We did, and there was more lots. There were more homes.
So are there more homes,
More homes.
They're
probably
not as close to the road. That was, I mean.
not as high, well, higher price point, so to speak, I would correct.
I don't know if it was a higher price point, but it was vinyl siding, and it was more units with less open space. So to me, what makes this not at all an issue is if this was, are we voting for standard R3? Are we voting for Arbor? Are we voting for Ryan? That's one thing. That's not what this actually is. We're currently stuck with Arbor. Anybody can go there and build to Arbor standards, and I don't particularly like Arbor standards, especially the vinyl siding portion of it.
And they're trying to cram houses.
Yeah, I would much rather see hardy board than vinyl siding. That's just me.
Anybody else doesn't have any commentary, I'll make a motion.
Deb, do you have any comments at all? Tim, anything else? Make a motion, Mr. Godecker.
So I just wanted to be clear on this, that this is 2024-05 on the paperwork. I thought I had caught that it said 2024-04, but
You remember what
that was, because that was from the plan. Okay. Okay, perfect. All right, I just wanted to make sure I wasn't wrong. Well, I'm going to make a motion to approve 2024-05, the amended PUD.
Can you modify your language of your motion to confirm?
Yes, I'm going to move to confirm our vote last month to updated PUD.
I'll second that motion.
Take a roll call vote, please.
Tim Brown,
No,
Fred Godecker.
Yes.
Pass 4-1.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
oh, I don't care. You know what, that's what I like about being here, we all got our own opinion. And as long as we can leave as friends, that works perfect. Just got my-
I'd like to move into them.
Ordinance 2024-06, please.
This is the second reading for the ordinance adopting a stormwater management code for the town of Whiteland. Just a real quick recap, IDEM, the Indiana Department of Environmental Management, is requiring all municipalities to update their code by July 1st of 2024. We're aligning with what the county adopted last year. which is a more stringent, discharge rates and various standards, updated,
Tim, we trust on this one.
Yeah. It's one of the things that IDEM's making everybody do it. Every town around has to do it. We had to rewrite a bunch of things, follow a bunch of different rules. I mean, they changed. Now we gotta, when we haul dirt away, we gotta tell where the dirt goes. We gotta write it down, how many truckloads, how many we bring in. They're changing a lot of harder rules. It used to be 15 days for certain things. Now they changed it to 7 days. So everybody had to do it. And from what I could see, it looked kind of like what everybody did, just got around the towns and just said, okay, let's try to make a basic unit. That way when contractors come here, they can work here and all kind of follow the same rule. I didn't see nothing out of the ordinary.
No, that makes a ton of sense.
Yeah, and I don't think it's gonna affect our builders as bad.
It makes it more stringent.
Yes.
Yeah.
Least is the hardest thing, and so, which we've experienced that with the county, or with the Whiteland High School.
Correct.
They just started into Brewing Ditch, and so they have to not only follow our standards, but the county standards. And they've gone to them for waivers on a lot of things, and so they've been getting a lot of pushback just because they have so much impervious surface, they don't have anywhere to discharge, and they have underground detention.
All over there.
But even for them to apply, because they have a five-phase project, and so the county has asked them for their master plan. Don't just come to us one phase at a time. We want to know your total impervious surface, so we make sure that you totally comply with the discharge. And they'll have to comply with this too.
Yeah.
So,
It helps our place out a lot. Gives us a lot more teeth too, so.
I will move to approve ordinance 2024-06, stormwater management code.
We have a second on the table.
I'll second it.
Mr. Saylor, second it, Mr. Brown. Take a roll call vote, please.
Tim Brown,
Yes.
Brad Godecker.
Yes.
Deborah Henderson,
Yes.
Joe Saylor,
Yes.
Richard Taylor,
Yes.
pass 5-0.
And there's no urgency for this at all?
This is second.
This is second,
This is
okay,
second.
so this is, okay.
Second reading.
2024-07,
this one is the numbers and the grid that the engineers get into, and so we fall asleep and try to understand it, so it just goes along with the standards. So, again, ask for that, second reading and approval.
I'll move to approve ordinance 2024-07, adopting new stormwater technical standards manual.
second.
Yes.
Mr. Saylor and Mrs. Henderson.
Hendrickson.
Apologize for that. That's a big last name, unlike Hill.
I used to be Pace.
Tim Brown,
Yes.
Brad Godecker.
Yes.
Deborah Hendrickson,
Yes.
Joe Saylor,
Yes.
Richard Hill,
Yes.
pass 5-0.
Core 5?
I won't speak very long, but I had sent out some communication in regards to the, kind of where we've been from the time Core 5 came to us in December in regards to their abatement extension. I do, there are representatives here from Core 5, so I'll let them kind of paint the picture for you. And then today, or actually yesterday, but I didn't get it out. Okay, so, Matt Price
Last
had
page.
provided us with just kind of what they had estimated in their application versus what, has been the actual, cash flows, at least for an example of building one, just so you can kind of see, their projections versus the actual, have been fairly substantially higher than what they had projected. So just wanted to kind of provide that with you, but we have Kyle here from Denton to represent Phil and from Matt Price, and then we've got Doug, our engineer. I'll let Kyle take over.
What's your name, sir? Kyle?
Sure, Kyle Resetaritz, and I'll get you a card.
Oh, that'd be perfect.
Here you go.
Thank you,
Yeah,
sir.
Thanks so much.
Yeah.
Just Hendrickson, I can sympathize there. Resetaritz is a handful there, so. Good evening, council here on behalf of my partner, Matt Price, and our client, Core 5 Industrial Partners. As was just mentioned, the property to projection cash flow summary that was, that I would assume is all in front of you, I think does a nice job of painting a picture of what was originally projected as far as tax payments, considering the abatement for building one versus the actual building one, or estimates based off the actual investment in building one. We included an estimate of building two and then a revision of what those building two cash flows would be. But let me zoom out before we look more closely at those numbers. So in 2021, Core 5 made an application for a tax abatement with respect to two different buildings, two light industrial warehouse distribution and logistics facilities. Those two buildings in sum would be just shy of 1.7 million square feet. The first of the two buildings has already been constructed and assessed, and tax payments will begin next year. Costs are higher than expected, and so we are estimating that over the abatement period from 2024 to 2034, that what we had originally estimated as the abatement period, the project will actually generate $1.3 million more in actual costs. Of course, that depends on a myriad of factors, not the least of which is the ultimate assessment of the building. So these are estimates, excuse me. Why I'm here this evening and why this originally was being considered by the council at the end of last year is Core 5, due to primarily economic conditions, is delaying its construction schedule for building number 2. As you may be aware, in central Indiana in general, there is a great deal of vacancy in these types of buildings. And so due to that vacancy and due to financing fallout that comes from that vacancy, the constructing a building to have it remain vacant or not fully leased and profitable has led Core 5 to the decision to delay that construction schedule. And we are here this evening to request a approval of an amended SB1 form with respect to the second building. So there were two SB1 forms approved in 2021, one for building number 1 and a second for this building number 2. Core 5 did submit, and it is attached to the resolution in front of you this evening, that amended SB1, which provides new estimated start dates and new start dates and a new estimate for a completion date, again, only for this second building, considering the first one has already been constructed. The remaining inputs in the SB1 form would remain the same. Most importantly, of course, being the real estate improvement cost estimates. This second building is larger in scope. It's an estimate of $41.6 million of investment. The other terms that you see in SB1 forms, including employee ranges, estimated salaries for those, or wages for those employees remain unchanged. From a timing perspective, because this building hasn't started to be constructed, we are coming before you today to ask for an amendment, both of the start date and the completion date, as opposed to coming later during construction and ask for the completion date to be pushed out. So we really wanted to come before you today, before you ever were wondering where a second building was, to be frank there, or when you were analyzing the compliance form for building one, whether you had any questions about building number two. Again, we wanted to be upfront and in front of you right now. I would add, based off of developing circumstances, that the amended SB1 in front of you kicks out the start of construction to August of this year and completion to April of 2026. Again, in the art of transparency here and an effort to be collaborative, Core 5 would like to explore the council's appetite for pushing those dates out one additional year as well. So from August 1, 25 and April 1 of 2027. Those estimates, those two dates fall in line with what Core 5's analysis is with respect to its construction timeline, financing timeline, tenant build out timeline, and the like. So again, wanted to have that conversation with you today, whether the council would have an appetite for those dates, and in turn we would make that clerical change to the amended SB1 if the council was agreeable to that arrangement. So I'm going to take a pause and appreciate your time this evening. Hopefully we can have a dialogue and answer questions. Of course, members of Core 5 are here to answer any more technical questions that you might have. So thank you for your time.
Thank you.
I guess my question is, you guys came to us in December on a project that was supposed to have started in April. And you're asking for us to extend the start date 11 days after the original completion date. Can you explain that timing to me?
Sure.
Hi, Doug Armbruster with Core 5. We have completed the building pad, the underground detention's in, with 100% designed out drawings that were submitted to the town a while ago. So it's not like we haven't done anything or it's in the field. It is basically ready for footings. The market just will not allow spec right now. And, we have to listen to the market. And I think in January, we were supposed to be here. I was in the hospital in January, so and I think we had some attorney continuances, some scheduling conflicts. So that we do apologize. But we're no different than Heinz, who came in last year and asked for an extension. We just want to be.
Hang on, let me stop you there. Isn't this very different from Heinz? Heinz hadn't blown a deadline.
With all due respect, we haven't either.
With all due respect, your completion date was 11 days ago.
And how do you know about Heinz?
I'm reading the resolution here, and it says that the original completion date was April 1st, 2024.
Yeah, so the SB1 in 2021 does include an estimated date for completion of building 2. We do fall several days after that estimate. Certainly the council, in its analysis after the building is constructed, we submit our compliance form, has the ability to analyze whether the compliance has been met. That we aren't at that compliance stage yet. Have not been constructed and fully assessed. So
You're not in compliance with your SB1 now.
the completion date, and for that matter, both dates are estimates. So estimates frontwards and backwards, I think, would be up to an interpretation of the council of whether we would be in compliance. But so they are estimates, so 11 days, I think we would be more than willing to.
Everything in an SB1 is an estimate, right? Okay, so you're gonna tell me that whether you're in compliance or not doesn't, what you actually put in your SB1 doesn't matter.
No, sir, not implying that, nor did I say that. I'm offering that. Your question was, the reason for why we are here in April as opposed to a date that would predate our original estimate. The reason for that includes all the reasons that my client just offered, not the least of which was unavailability for representatives of the company as well as their counsel to be at a scheduled council meeting.
Which SB1 is not compliant?
Building 2.
I know, but when was that one done? The
They were done at
SB1?
the same time, 2021.
So I don't remember,
They were approved together.
okay, they were approved together, but when we do the next year and they weren't in compliant, why didn't we do something then?
Well, they had estimated they would start construction by, was it,
April 1st of-
1 of 2023, in last April. And
We have.
They had started.
The site work is, I would say 90% complete. All the
Okay.
horizontal improvements are done. There are basins there, there's a pad. All the street construction is done. We just have not commenced the vertical construction due to the market conditions.
Well, you guys came to us in December, you said you hadn't started, and this document I'm looking at here in front of me says you now want to start on August 1st of 2024.
Continue probably should be.
To amend the estimated start date of the project from April 1st, 2023 to August 1st, 2024. That's what's in the,
Right. And
That's that's the resolution that references
No.
that's provided in the attached SBL.
what I'm saying is, when you came to us in December, why did you tell us you hadn't started? Why does the resolution you're asking for us to pass say you haven't started? And now you come in and say that, oh, no, we did start. So why are we even worried about the open date? If this is in fact would be a compliant start.
So the reason we're here today
Is that consider a start, having all that?
present an amended SB1, which would include its start date and an estimated completion date that would differ from the 2021 original approved SB1. The comments we're providing tonight with respect to site work are showing the council, our efforts to show the council our good faith construction efforts to ready the building for vertical improvements. In my
Where's the
experience, the
amended
estimated
SB1?
start date is often referred to or referenced by councils as vertical improvements.
Did we get a copy of this?
May not always be, certainly the statutory provide specificity. But we wanted to make sure that we provided a better estimate for the vertical improvements provided by Corp Modern. Doug just mentioned what site work has been prepared.
To be completely transparent with you, what's kind of sticking in my craw about the whole thing, that didn't stick in my craw with Heinz, kind of comes through just how little
But it doesn't say
you
amended.
had for your SB1 came to us after you blew the deadlines. And makes it kind of apparent to me that you're not particularly concerned about complying with the SB1 because you're just gonna come in and say, oh no, you gotta give us an extension. One thing that's very different is if you have a deadline that's approaching, you're not gonna be able to meet it for whatever reason, and you come and say, hey, not gonna be able to make that work with me. That's easy. That's what Heinz did. Another thing to, for the first deadline, pushing up against the completion deadline and say, oh yeah, we just didn't do that. Now go back and fix it for us. I have a real problem with that. Is there something, am I missing something there?
So the controlling date in the SB1 that we would expect the council and the town to be most concerned with certainly be the completion date. And so our efforts to amend the SB1 that started in Q4 of 2023 were in an effort to amend that date, come before the council, ask for an amendment, And the last 3 or 4 months, I've had an area of circumstances that have delayed this more formal presentation, and hopefully the council will consider on that. So we have made efforts locally with staff to provide an amended SB1 that would most importantly move the completion date and would revise the start date to reflect the start date and vertical in the event that the council wanted to view that as a vertical. So I am hearing and appreciating the concern of how the timeline has developed, but certainly the efforts that we're making tonight in hopes of being very transparent, in particular about when the
You're asking to push it out again though, right? So like,
Here's their date.
not only the delayed start date, but then second delayed start date now, as you guys have delayed this
Well, this was.
council appearance for 4 months.
This wasn't.
You're wanting to push back the start date again another year?
Yeah, so the meetings that I had with 4 or 5, preparing for this meeting.
Why doesn't it say that?
Led us to a discussion that the April 1st, 2026 date may not be the most practical,
It does not pass.
conservative, or realistic date for completion.
Okay.
December.
So we are offering for discussion, pushing that date to 2027. If ultimately that appetite, just because the duration of time from what our 2021 approved SB1 and this amended SB1 is just too long in duration of time, the company is agreeable to the estimated completion date of April 1st, 2026. And we'll make efforts to
Why are we just gonna let this abatement flow? Why don't you guys figure out when you're gonna build the building and then come to us and ask for an abatement?
Well, we wrote a proposal for a build-to-suit that we put out in the quarter. And that company was on fast track. Unfortunately, we were not selected. They wanted a site that was Southwest proposed. You can't affirmatively tell whether I mean, I would say that we have an alignment with the town to put a building in. We don't make money, having vacant land, but we have to have all the tools in our arsenal when we meet with these clients, because for the most part, we build on spec without a tenant. Sometimes we do a custom build. But based on the competitive market we're in, if you don't have that ready to go and you can't look at the client in the eye, you're just moving on to the next. It unfortunately would have been a good win. I think we had a great presentation. Unfortunately, they just said, well, we Southwest. We were down to 1-3 in the last 2 finals for Southwest. The Southwest being our play.
I've got a question. I heard you mention Heinz. I wasn't here for that. Did we do this on the same thing, Carmen, for Heinz?
With their application date was also in 2021. Their original construction date was to start March 31st of 2022. They did not come in until last year, so 2023.
So about the same thing that we're dealing with now.
Right, but they were still within their projected operation start date, similar to this group, which they had projected of December 31st of 2024. They got their application approved on July 11th of last year. Again, that was, the construction date was in their SB1 in their application was March 31st of 2022. Their amended construction date is June 30th of 2024, and I've not heard a peep from them since July. So.
Well, I'm big on if we do something for one, we need to do it for all. We either set precedent or we don't do it. I mean, that's my big thing. If we've done it for another company, it would be hard for us to tell you guys no, do stuff like that. And I'm new to this because I wasn't involved in the last one, so I was trying to make catch up on this all I could and asking questions, and I talked to Carmen and Richard and everybody about it. So that's my big thing, is just treating everybody equal. And then is there something that, like I explained to Carmen, is there something we need to do and say, okay, this is how many times you could do it, whatever it would take to make this correct at this one. But we know now that there's an issue, we need to kind of look into it, make sure we stay closer to the dates that we need. We all have emergencies, I understand that, and there's hard things to get here. I wasn't in here in December, and I am just learning about all this stuff. I don't know a whole lot about it. I know about that much, probably enough to get me in trouble. But I do know right from wrong. If we do it for one, we need to do it for the majority of it, or we stop doing it to anybody. And that's kind of how I feel about it. And if we've done it for Heinz, I would have a hard time saying, no, I can't do it for you, but we can do it for one and not do it for you. But like I said, I'm trying to catch everything I can catch and do all my research on this long before.
I haven't heard any kind of commitment that you would adhere to the next set of timeline, because that's already shifting now. From where this started and you were wanting some change, and it's already being asked to be pushed back. And so, like, as far as I can tell, the proposal is a completely indefinite series of events where we give you guys the incredible tax abatement schedule that we offered up at the beginning, and then you're not following that, and you're just asking for a continued unlimited future until you're satisfied with the way the market works. And I don't know, like, I don't see where any of the commitment is. So it's like, we offered a 10-year tax abatement schedule that was exceptionally competitive and generous from what we do. And I mean, it's like, yeah, the clock is starting here. So what's to say in a year, you guys just don't come back in and be like, hey, nothing really changed. We want to do it again. We want to push it out another 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 years. And so, like, I mean, we want to see a building get built and jobs be provided for the community and improve our tax revenue. We want to see you guys make money. But I mean, we're not really helping matters much if we're just going to, like, hey, it doesn't really matter. We don't, none of the forms we filled out really matter. The dates don't matter.
Two comments to that. The abatement approved by the town of Whiteland was allowed us to be competitive. It was appreciated, recognized, and the town and Core 5 will enjoy the benefits of Building 1. And the estimates we provided are being exceeded, or will likely be exceeded, given the construction costs and success or hopeful success of Building 1. And so we anticipate the same for Building 2. So towns and cities grant tax abatements with hopes of capturing increased tax revenue brought by approved tax abatements. The town of Whiteland will actually enjoy the benefits of likely higher taxes than we originally estimated. In response to question number 2, the discussion tonight with respect to a completion date in April of 2027 is Core 5's recognition of the changes in the market and is a date offered so that it can meet that date, as opposed to, as you suggested, an earlier date returning and asking for a second postponement. What would amount to be a second postponement of that. And so we want to make sure that if the council does choose to approve an amended SB1, that the company can meet those estimates and provide a substantial investment in the community as well.
Okay. So, sorry, what kind of commitment are you going to offer here that you're not going to be in front of us asking again?
What commitment would you suggest in light of the grounds of an abatement approval?
That you won't ask again, like, you're not going to come back before us to amend anything. Like that, those are the numbers, and if you can't fulfill your obligations, then that's it, and then the clock starts. That's what I would absolutely require for my vote, would be that, we will not be back in front of you again, and we either will, build the building, or we will, begin, the abatement clock starts, whether you have something going for you or not. And so perhaps that'll be some added motivation. That would absolutely be required for anything positive for me.
I understand, I appreciate what you're saying. Again, you can't build into a market that's not gonna allow you to build into that. There's 34 million square feet available citywide right now. And the absorption has been 0 this year. There's nothing happened of any size. We can't manufacture deals. We can present the best product, which is what we've done, is to position the site in the best possible light to put it into production as quickly as possible. But I don't want to lie to you and say that I don't know where this economy is going right now. And again, we don't make money having vacant land. That's not how we make money. We make money by building buildings.
May I just add, so to Mr. Brown's point, I agree with trying to be consistent. And I also agree with Mr. Godecker too. We can't continue to, kick the cans, so to speak, because of the market. So my question to you is, what is the definition of a start date on something like this? Because they have the pad done, the drainage complete, and the design drawings complete. So doesn't that constitute a start of a project? Or is it footers and vertical steel is considered the start of the project? And second question is there anything in our ordinance or statute or anything like that about these type of situations to where we can change this? And is there a threshold to where we only do it once and then that's it? Or is that open-ended for the process to come to the council and say, hey, we want an amendment, we want an amendment, we want an amendment? When does that end?
Well, it's a policy decision. On your second question, it's a policy decision that you guys get to make the decision on. The statute doesn't say you can only ask for an amendment, 2 or 3 times. It's at your discretion, whether you think under all the circumstances, including what's best for the economic development of the town, whether you should amend it or not. It's completely in your discretion. As to the first question, in terms of how is a start of construction defined, one, I think that it's not defined in the statute nor anyplace else, but I think the type of things that have been described as having been started, I think probably would constitute starting construction by a reasonable estimation of what that term means. I think if you were to try and get technical about it, the question that comes to my mind is, when did they actually start doing those things? And was it before or after their initial estimated start date? But there again, if you're looking at it from kind of the legal compliance standpoint, that's kind of fudgy. It is an estimate. And so if you really got into a dispute about it, that would be a factual determination, and one court could decide differently than another court in terms of whether they had substantially complied with their estimated dates.
Do we have somebody else building right now?
All of the buildings are pretty much done. Like, there's nobody that has applied for another big building.
So they're the only one building right now?
Well, they're not.
They're not building, it's just
They're not ready to build their next.
Right, but I'm saying they're the only one that's not complete.
No, there's
No,
some
there's
more.
others
There's
that are
Heinz.
complete. Yeah, Heinz, and then,
Gateway.
the Gateway projects, and then Uptown Commercial Partners is another perfect example. The lot right across from Cooper Tires, came in for their abatement in 2022 and said their building was already gonna be done. and it's still grass, well, weeds. So we're constantly having to send them notices of tall grass and having to pay money to come in with their big extension.
I've got a question. How much infrastructure was put in the first phase to help on the second phase that you guys did? Is all the infrastructure in for both buildings?
It's 100%.
So you went above and beyond by doing
Some
that.
bonds that.
It's odd that you
Was part of
start
that
the-
punch up, but it's
arbitrary and
100%.
vague.
That's what it is.
So that's a big thing to take into consideration too, because we've got so much infrastructure, stormwater ponds helping on the drainage systems and stuff like that. That's something, to me, that's starting work, starting the building. So, I mean, I guess there's a lot to consider, I guess.
To Councilmember Hill, Hendrickson, and Brown's points here, the driver behind the amended SB1 was the completion date. Okay, so we wanted to make sure that we submitted an amended SB1 that would kick the completion date out to a date that we thought was feasible to complete construction of the building. In doing so, we made another revision to the estimated start date to kick that out to make sure that it captured vertical improvements. If that amended start date is causing any heartburn or confusion perhaps even, and the council is considering or would consider the site work that's already completed a start of construction, we can easily amend the estimated start date back, or not amend it rather, right? Because the site work began in 2021, well before the estimate of March 31st. I think it was April 1st of 2023. So
you have all the infrastructure in then?
Yeah, it was all complete actually before we were supposed to have started.
Okay.
well before we were starting. The start date, I would say, from just a site perspective, has been met and well exceeded. And so I think the discussion tonight with Councilman Godecker and others is likely more focused on the completion date. And we want to, make sure to answer your questions with respect to that date.
I'm looking to get a specific from anybody on the council that wants to agree to this. What's the limit? Like, I need to know a limit, and I think we all need to have it on record here. How many times can you come back? How far out in the future can you kick this stuff? Like, we've already revisited this. We laid out an entire plan, and I'm not unreasonable here. Like, success is for both. We want to see our developers do well, and I want to be very enthusiastic in their support and be very flexible. We created an entire plan with them. There's no plan here, as far as I can tell, is, like, this is it. Like, this is the one time we're going to come back and ask for a change, and that's it. I mean, what if everybody needs to do this then? How many times are we going to do it? I mean, I want to put it on record then. This is it. And so, like, right now, I'm a no vote. You all are trying to be persuasive, and so I'm open-ended, and I want to be persuaded. So I need some data. Like, we're doing this, we'll do it once, and we'll kick it out a year, or what is it we're gonna do?
I'm willing to vote yes and let you know that I won't vote yes again for an extension.
I asked the
Because
same day about
2027 is
dates.
3 years from now.
Don't be back.
I'm a little hesitant to go with 27.
Right.
I'm like grin and bear 26, the original date, but there can't, basically what we're being told is that the legal mechanism of being non-compliant with your SB1, which is you lose your abatement, that we're basically just not allowed to do that because I have a really hard time looking my constituents in the eye and saying, hey, I secured these commitments for the town, and then I gave them away for nothing. And I asked when you guys came before us in November if Core 5 was willing to put in any additional infrastructure, or something where I can look my constituents in the eye and the voters and the taxpayers and say, hey, I didn't just give the developer multiple years, let them keep the abatement that you're already angry that I supported, and sorry about you, taxpayer. Did you guys ever come up with something that I can tell my constituents that the town got in return for allowing you to not honor these commitments?
Well, I think we've talked with staff about the amount of public infrastructure that was privately funded. I believe we've sent this.
It's over $2 million that's already been installed.
And that would be in addition to the increased cost and expected assessment of building one. Outside of the privately owned facility.
See, Brad, I had the same question is, how many times are we allowed to do it? Or do we make a cutoff too? Because I thought the same thing. I mean, it's one of them things that they can keep coming back and stuff like that too. And like I said, I'm trying to figure it all out myself. And when I talked to Carmen about it, I said, is there a certain amount of time we put on it? I mean, do we say, okay, let's say, okay, you can do it twice. And then after that, you can't do it again. I mean, no one gave me a real good answer on how many times we could do it. So I was curious.
I mean, it's you that sets the answer. And so that's what I'm saying. Like, I'm saying, no, maybe you can convince me, but then make a proposal.
Right, and that's why I talked to Carmen, because Carmen's the one that deals with these people daily. And she is the one I go to and say, hey, what is your thoughts on it? Because she deals with it a lot more than I do. Because, I'm just a utility and building inspector. She's actually in the management part of it and knows more about these stuff that I do. So I asked her, how do we police this that's fair for all us boards to come to agreement and say, yeah, that's fair for all of us.
I don't think there's a legal way to do it, Tim. To be honest with you, whoever sits on the council makes that decision when they.
Right, and so if we stay here for 4 years and they come back in 5 years, the new council can give it to them regardless.
Yep.
So, I mean, all we can do is why we're here for the first 4 years. And so I guess that's the thing. No matter what we tell these guys, okay, you only get one more time, but new council comes in and they could change it all. I mean, so and I appreciate you saying that because I kind of wondered that, and I thought, regardless what we do, if new council comes up, God forbid I pass out and have a heart attack or someone else comes in and they decide to go ahead and do this and change things, they can do that.
I'll go before you, Tim.
You got too many kids. Yeah, you can't go. You're going to.
2 of them out of houses.
I got y'all.
I think it's reasonable to expect to have flexibility. But I also think within that flexibility, you have to have, you draw your line in the sand. So I personally think coming before the council and explaining their situation one time, I think that might be okay. But anything beyond that, like it says, you're just gonna, when's it stop?
Mm-hmm.
And and that's why I asked the question, is there anything that governs this? Well, evidently not. It's right here with this panel. So we have to come to an agreement on, what's reasonable.
And I would suggest that we don't come in after the fact. I think that's where the big heartburn is.
And do we have criteria? Again, this is something that probably takes more than just tonight. What is the trigger and what are the criteria that need to be met to consider that trigger? And I don't know that we collectively have that at this point.
The council, when it approves an abatement, it approves an amended SB1, and the resolution that was provided does specify certain findings to be similar to the findings of fact with respect to approving an abatement. Estimated of the value of the redevelopment is reasonable for projects of that nature. The estimated number of employees and those salaries are reasonably expected to result from the development. The nature of the improvements and the projected property taxes paid create a benefit of the type and quality anticipated by the town council within the economic revitalization area and can be reasonably expected to result in the totality of the benefits. Those are 5 standards by which this council and every council, city, town, and county in the state of Indiana evaluate when approving abatements. The project scope with respect to investment, salaries, employees, scope and totality of the benefits is not changing. In fact, our track record with respect to building one would indicate that we have the ability to actually exceed those estimates. What we're coming before you today asking is for a delay in the completion of building two so that we can meet these 5 standards, that we can meet the investment, the totality, the salaries, the ranges, in the same way as we met and exceeded building one. So the discussion with respect to bites at the apple, if you will, we don't want to take multiple bites at the apple. We had an abatement approved in 2021. We met that in part. We needed an amendment to delay the second building so that we can meet and exceed those other specifications. And tonight, we're asking for an extension to 2027 so that those standards by which you originally approved the abatement.
So let me just ask, when would it be appropriate for us to say no, and then when you come up for your SB1 review, find you non-compliant, and the abatement goes away? At what point in this does the actual mechanism that the law provides to ensure compliance by you guys with this, at what point is it okay for that to happen?
I think that's, one, in part a policy decision, and two, in part for Mr. Watson to offer as counsel, as attorney to the council.
No, I mean, I'm asking from your client's point of view, is there any point at which, not adhering to your commitments, you expect and would say, yeah, that's fair, we didn't honor them, now the law kicks in and we don't have that abatement? Like, what would actually trigger that?
Never had it happen before. I've been doing this for 30 years.
Mm-hmm.
We meet our commitments. We meet our commitments to all the towns, companies that we deal with. If we were serious about the project, we would have spent $20 on putting the public infrastructure in. We wouldn't have spent the money to build the pad. We would have. We're not your typical developer. I think the reason why the values are more is because we build a higher quality building, and that tends to attract, higher quality tenants, and that's the legacy of our company. And I don't like coming in here doing this. This is not something that I've really had to do. Momentum was slowed. We were moving. We couldn't get things going fast enough. And, I think unfortunately a lot of absorption got pulled forward about 3 years with COVID. And it's caught a lot of us off guard. And all we're trying to do is come in and explain where we're at today and how we get to the end. I think we tried to be realistic with the dates. I think if you go out to our development, it looks nice, it looks well kept. And, I want to come in here and tell you, hey, we were able to maybe we do. We need to have those tools in our arsenal. Corporate America moves very quickly. And if you want to check the boxes, you're out. I don't think, I don't have to excite that for us, that's not great.
If you don't mind, I'd add a couple things. Yep. One, in looking at my notes from correspondence with Carmen regarding particularly the Heinz example, I did find and verify that they made their request as it related to building 2 approximately 3 months after the stated start date. So if that is meaningful to you, that's the factual situation for Heinz building 2. Second thing I think would be good for you to think about is, or consider, and it's somewhat what Richard, you were talking about in terms of maybe needing some additional information. What do other communities do on this kind of thing? I suspect that there are similar situations that are handled, amendments to abatements that are asked for in other communities. And, this is an economic development market, and we're not alone. And there are other communities that deal with this too. And so we need to be kind kind of aware of, I think, what the competitive environment is, and make sure that we understand that as part of our consideration.
So Heinz was 3 months behind their, when they came in.
They requested an amendment of their SB 1 for Building 2 approximately 3 months after their stated start date had occurred. So they were 3 months after that. Now, to build or to provide the bigger picture, they had, on Building 1, as I recall, had some delays in that situation as well, and they communicated in advance what was going on and their expectations and so forth, which we passed on to the council. And I think that dialogue ongoing is probably somewhat of what you remember, or some of you remember with Heinz, that maybe you feel like it's a little bit different. But that's what I can tell you about the Heinz situation.
Yes, sir.
Just for context, on Building 1, just as we're comparing, the SB 1 had an estimated completion date of March of 2023 for Building 1. Core 5 completed Building Number 1 in Q4 of 2022. So 3 to 5 months earlier, I think we're estimating about November of 2022, so 4 months. So just to speak of apples to apples, and perhaps to speak of track record for Core 5.
Well, and we were also facing a lot of supply chain issues in concrete industry. So a lot of construction timelines got elongated. There still are some supply chain issues along the mechanical, electrical side. But the concrete rationing was something that was real, that we were dealing with, that getting your allocation. There was, you'll get it when they send it to you.
And I believe that was actually the basis for Heinz's request for an extension, was that they could not get the steel and concrete to build the building at the time that they requested it, if my memory is serving, but it might not be.
My question is like he suggested, that you suggested, we ought to probably take a little time and do some research what some other towns are doing surround us. I mean, is this something, if we take a table tonight, we do some research, we get around to the surrounding towns, see how they're handling this, is this going to put a damper on you guys in any way?
I think, again, to the extent that if we can't affirmatively tell somebody that we haven't paid the side.
Right, but 30 days is 30 days. With the economy, we all know it's rough right now. Buildings aren't selling. We got buildings sitting in Franklin empty. We got buildings sitting in Greenwood empty. I get that. I'm just trying to work with you guys. I'm trying to figure out how I can say, okay, these guys down here say, look, this other town does it this way. This, we're trying to make sure that we're competitive with surround towns and stuff like that to make sure that we get our business. And I think, like Godecker said, he wants us or someone to convince him, how should we do this? And the only true way of doing that is taking 30 days and doing some investigating, or just make a decision now.
Yeah,
Well, all of us are trying to comment here, pardon me. I think we know what's best for Whiteland. Don't need to know what Shelbyville's doing or what have you. And I think we can make a decision. The decision could be easy. Hey, we just stick to the same timeline. They keep the abatement and they're losing it, or we're going to cut off the back end, or we agree that we're going to do a one-time thing and make it very, very clear that that's it. I want this project to be very successful. I think Taylor made it to do well. Certainly the market has changed or what have you, but as an investor, you have to realize that. So if we're going to do something, I'm asking you guys to say, okay, yeah, we're going to do this, and we're going to verbally state this is it. And then so that way, the next time somebody else comes through, we're being consistent. You can do that, like, we really want you to hold to this timeline, but we'll work with you, but then this is it. And then.
And to your consistency point, Brad, I don't think that we should have a consistency thing where you basically get one or whatnot. To me, it's super fact specific. You come in and you can't get steel and you can't get concrete. But I see that in a little bit different of a light than you come in and, the market wasn't advantageous. So I'm very hesitant about saying that if one gets one, the other gets it, because I think that it is super, super fact specific. I know that Greenwood and Franklin have both pulled abatements recently. In fact, Greenwood got raked over the coals because they weren't monitoring SB1 compliance. And it turned out there were businesses that had been out of compliance for 3 or 4 years that were still receiving their abatements. They got a massive bloody nose over that. Now, those were a different sort of abatement. Those weren't based off construction breaches. Those were based off of the companies weren't doing what the companies were supposed to be doing as far as the number of employees and that sort of thing. So that is a little bit different, but I know that there have been, both Franklin and Greenwood, I believe, have pulled abatements within the last 2 or 3 years, particularly after the Greenwood debacle, when they discovered they had a whole bunch out of compliance. I can live with this. But I'm not really interested in going past the 2026 date that's in the current resolution. And absent an act of God, I won't support another one. Absent, there is no steel and concrete, there is so on and so forth. I won't support a second one. That's where I land on it.
So I think what we'd offer to the council is if we extend to 27, perhaps we can have a discussion of what that date of 27 means, because it could ultimately be December 31st, the difference between 1/1 of 27 and 12/31 of 27. It doesn't matter for tax assessment purposes. But absent unavailability of labor for materials, that we acknowledge that the council will not approve an additional extension.
Like a force majeure.
Yeah, sort of a force majeure type clause, act of God type clause, but the 2026 date, Core 5 would not be able to offer, if you will, or dialogue on that same sort of force majeure.
Well, what do you have to dialogue? You're in breach right now. What?
I get perhaps poor choice of words, but I would just wanted to offer, because Councilmember Kodecker suggested earlier if the company would be willing to offer something, so perhaps that was better.
Okay, I understand. I apologize. I misunderstood.
We can offer that we will not request a second amended SB1 absent force majeure circumstances if the council is willing to approve an amended SB1 that has a completion date in late 2027.
I personally, we're currently talking about the current document in front of me is 2 years from the current completion date, which was 2 weeks ago. That'll be 3 years after the original estimated date. I think your 2027 ask is problematic to me insofar as that within the last 3 or 4 months, you're wanting another basically year and a half on top of. Yeah, another year and a half on top of your original ask.
So we were in certainly a critical period of time coming into the spring, and coming out of winter, allowing materials and financing and other mechanisms to work itself out with respect to that date. Again, as I offered at the beginning of the presentation, we want to avoid the second request for.
I did first quarter.
Yes, offer April 1st of 2026.
2027. Instead of the end. I mean,
Now that it's April,
There's
we want
no
to
commitment to
come
it.
with 7 dates.
It's nothing if I don't have the gumption to just say no.
well, this is contingent on no more.
The April, whatever point in the year it is, do we at least agree that that doesn't necessarily, I'll ask it a different way. If you were going to consider 2027, is the month in 2027 an important part of that decision?
Not particularly to me, but I think it might be to some other people.
Well, you had made mention late 2027.
Well, so for assessment purposes, if the building is constructed in, let's say, April of 2027 or completed in December of 2027, the assessment will occur in early 2028.
Here's kind of, let me try to explain where I'm coming from. My sticking point is that nothing has happened on the building since 2021 when they poured the slab and put in some infrastructure.
The pad is there, not the slab.
It's a grass pad,
Building pad.
dirt.
Oh, so there isn't concrete poured.
No.
No, you can't do that.
No, I was kind of trying to figure out how that slab had sat out for 2 years.
Building pad.
I see. So dirt work, our footings poured,
No.
no concrete.
All the underground pipes,
Pad-ready utilities and other
utilities are
serving
stubbed,
infrastructure.
it's footing ready is how I would describe it.
Okay.
Pad.
If you guys were in April of 2026 and you had a mostly completed building, you wouldn't hear boo out of me. You wouldn't hear a single thing out of me. I'd say, hey, looks like that's coming along really nice. I know you didn't quite hit it, but I get
I
it.
think the issue is, from a sequencing standpoint, you typically aren't doing your heavy construction through the winter and finishing your building in April. Typically, it's gonna be later in the year. I think we would be agreeable to a completion late in 26. It makes more logical sense from a construction sequencing standpoint. I think that's the concern that.
No, I can appreciate that.
Because really we've built in Indy and done some miracles some years. But December to March, you could work the whole time, or you could be shut down for 2 or 3 of those months.
In another life, I used to pour concrete in North Dakota for a living.
So the council has a
So I know what you're
mechanism to
saying.
analyze this abatement compliance. I think even tonight perhaps, or on a recent agenda, you've done that. I understand that concern. I've done it in many communities, not the least of which are other communities in Johnson County. Understood the timing of this request. I wish we could teleport ourselves back to November and not have that 11 days presenting itself, but unfortunately we can't.
Well, I mean, it's not the 11 days that bothers me. It's that the ask was after it was physically impossible to comply with. There was no way that you could build between December and April, February.
Yeah, I think in light of that, there would be a discussion, if the council did consider the SB1 for compliance purposes, and you had a 75% constructed building, but you weren't gonna be making the April date,
No one would care.
no one would care. And so I think at that time, while it may have been physically impossible to complete the building, there was still some realistic chance that we could hit it within some.
If nobody else has anything, I'll make a motion.
That's where we're at.
Yes, we were.
Waiting on a motion, so yeah.
I'll move to approve. Well, I'm sorry, I'm gonna move to amend Resolution 2023-19 to change the estimated completion date from April 1st of 2026 to October 1st of 2026. That gives them the summer. That's my motion. And that's just to amend, not to approve.
With no other changes or request for amendment.
All I can speak for is myself. I'm not gonna be interested, absent an
That's
act
just
of
gonna be
God.
a case-by-case basis depending on what's going on.
Yep. All we can do is this one today and deal with the next one later.
So I'll move to amend the estimated completion date to October 1st, 2026.
Why not December 1st? What's 2 months?
Well, because it's,
Winter.
I'm holding my nose to do this as it is.
It's the winter.
That's my motion.
Is what he's trying to give them the benefit of the doubt on the winter months, not construction in the winter, correct?
Yes, correct.
That's what I thought. He's a concrete man, he knows it's hard to pour in the winter.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Take a vote, please.
Tim Brown,
Yes.
Fred Godecker,
Yes.
Deborah Hendrickson,
Yes,
Joe Saylor,
Yes.
Richard Hill.
Yes.
We'll just have to deal with it later.
Well, we're not done yet.
Hang on, that was just to approve it, not to approve it. Sorry. I'll move to approve as
That's the
amended.
hardest thing I've dealt with.
So, and just so we understand,
You're damned if you do anything.
the thing that's got me is they.
We're starting over.
They're dedicated to it.
I agree, that's why.
help me out here, Joe. I know
That's why I
that
did the way I
that
did.
date, the recitals, was there any other place that it was found?
I think it's in the, is it in the SB
Of
one?
course, in the SB one, which they'll have to revise and re-sign.
It's just in the seventh.
Right,
Wanna do it again?
yeah, that's what I said.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure we were.
Upon, I suppose a condition precedent would be them tendering an amended, or we can just amend this if they want to initial it.
Do you have someone here who's authorized to sign a handwritten amended version of this?
Yeah, Doug signed everything.
And with that understanding, I think we can proceed.
Okay. I will move to approve resolution 2023-19 as amended, up and obviously effective upon receipt of an amended SB one, in compliance with the terms of the resolution.
I'll second.
Mr. Saylor and Mrs. Hendrickson. Have a vote, please.
Tim Brown,
Yes.
Fred Godecker,
Yes.
Deborah Hendrickson,
Yes,
Joe Saylor,
Yes.
Richard Hill.
Yes.
Passed 5-0.
Thank you.
Thank you.
yeah.
Sure, that was hard.
Yeah, give me 1 second here.
Infrastructure part.
I know.
Carmen, you still
That's
still
me.
awake?
That was the hardest thing, that was the hardest thing, not to give a little credit. You know, that was hard for me not to give a little credit, I know Braden's more. But we should, see what this does, is this gives them time to be competitive, to show me the buyers want to agree to take it, say, hey, we got this kind of tax payment, we can get you here. It does help in a way.
Well, nice.
So, I mean, I understand a little bit of it, and I'm learning a lot about it. I do that, if they had this infrastructure, I would have known.
Did you eat the toothpaste one?
Yeah. I haven't ate all day.
No, it's okay. We took an audience vote.
I don't think that amendment.
Yes, no.
The orange.
This tastes like toothpaste.
Actually necessary, I think the exhibit D was the key one.
They dissolve
I
quickly.
think that
Yep.
those were actually provided with the original.
The audience agrees.
I'm not sure what Matt sent.
Yeah,
I had
that was
No, there was two.
the original.
Two.
So I think because this.
And my husband will agree, or he can't come home.
Cause he's told to,
You're gonna stay with Vince.
like all of them.
Yeah, that way we.
send it to me, you got my card?
Yeah.
Man, if I work up a project,
The only thing,
and I come before here,
not sure what,
get that royal treatment that
to don't put all that in money and
percent abatement for a year.
treat them equal.
Because I've sec-
I think if they didn't have the infrastructure, it would be hard.
I've got to hide
Yeah.
all of these.
That's all that we
I'm
got.
like, okay.
I know.
So Carmen, 2024-02, is that you? Oh,
Have your rescue.
Appointment of director and administration.
No, not yet, we're still on old business.
Mr. Funkhauser.
Just revisiting, and I'll have Chief Funkhauser here to kind of give you the nitty-gritty on the heavy rescue, but, he did, provide a draft resolution that could be used in other situations to Stephen, and he's reviewed it. That didn't make it in your packet, but it was provided to you tonight at your seats. If you choose, allowing us to make the purchase. He has received, permission from the fire district that they have, agreed to a purchase price of $125,000. If you remember last month, we didn't know the meeting was happening at the same night, and so I had asked for permission to make an offer up to 150, but they've come back with 125. There were some questions that you all had as far as,
Comps.
the technical parts of the piece of equipment, the comps, to other, heavy rescue, so I'm gonna turn it over to the chief.
Hey, Joe. Have a drink.
All right, good evening.
Get to.
Hi, Chief.
I'll try and answer any questions that you have. Thank you for presenting this last month. I tried to come back with
Grab me
most
one
of
if
the
you would,
answers to
please.
questions that you had.
Yep.
Thank you, Brad.
Some of them, thank you. Was the comparables on what is out there right now. So I went to a website called Friendly Mountain, which is a broker of used fire trucks and a group that sells trucks. So I tried to pull some of them that look comparable to the same truck. So I think it's in your packet tonight. You will see the current rescue truck, what it looks like, and what we're looking at.
I don't think I got
It has the mileage on there, it has the hours on there. I did go ahead and pull just off the website that fell into the same, I guess, spectrum as that same truck, that's what we have right now. So the 2001 Pierce Quantum Heavy Rescue is $425,000 listed online right now. 2005 Sutton Custom Heavy Rescue, $220,000, which is 5 years older than the one that we're talking about right here. 2002 Salisbury, $150,000. 2001 Sabre Walk-in Rescue, $150,000. Some of the other questions that was asked last month was just asking what our trucks, like the one that we currently have, going forward, if we decided to try and sell it on the brokered website. They've got a 1995 KME, which is 1 year newer than the one that we have. They're asking $50,000. I can't guarantee how long it's sat on the website though. Difference between this one and the one that we currently have is it's called a wet rescue, so it has water and a pump on there as well. The one that we have does not have. But it would be comparable to exactly what this one is, which is the one we have now is a 1994. So we have a 30-year-old rescue. That's a frontline piece of apparatus that's first out. This would allow us to go up 16 years newer at $125,000. The Bargersville board did agree to throw in some of the old extrication equipment that was on the truck when we ended up buying the new one and replacing everything. There was some Hurst extrication tools that went into storage at that time that they're going to surplus, so they'll throw those pieces in. I can't say that they're worth a ton of money, but they're worth $500 to $1,000 per tool. They're hydraulic tools. A lot of them have gone to electric tools now because it's battery operated. We're not really using hydraulic tools like we used to back in the day. So, but those would be a good backup set to be able to put on there as we look at getting electric tools in the future as well. But a set of those right now is running about $40,000. So we haven't upgraded yet to that. So, but this would give us a second backup set to put on the truck as well. So mileage wise, we're looking at with the one that we're looking at 56,000. Bargersville has owned that truck since it was made. Basically, it was a demo truck that was built for Suffolk. The story behind it was they built 2 heavy rescues, I believe, for Raleigh, North Carolina. Back in the day, they backed out of the deal. They built twin trucks that kind of drove around the country, went to some of the different conferences, and then we ended up buying one of them. So we've owned it from the very beginning in 2010 when they ended up buying it. So we've had it since then. All maintenance has been done on it at all times. I mean, every 6 months, everything was PM. oil changes, everything, everything's been kept up on it from start to finish. And we've owned it from the beginning. So. And I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have as well.
You answered-
Sounds good.
I was gonna ask you, excuse me, I was gonna ask you if it was equipped, if the tools come with it, but you say some of it does.
Yeah, just, there'll be a hydraulic pump, there'll be 2 reels. So this one has the ability to pull the reels between the compartments, whether it comes off the driver's side or the passenger side, where the one we currently have does not. So that equipment will come with it, and then probably, I don't know off the top of my head exactly how many of our first equipment is in storage, but probably 4 or 5 tools that would come along with it, and then that's it. So everything else would come off of what our current truck is.
That was my
So
next
get
question.
All of that, and then be able to put it on this truck with one with it.
Okay, that was
What we
my,
have now is considered like a medium duty rescue. Rescues are a different type of truck. There's 3 different types. There's light duty, medium, and heavy rescue. So you can go all the way from a pickup truck with a box on the back, all the way to a large, what looks like a full-size engine, heavy duty rescue with all of the, equipment space and everything else that this one has. So this would be considered a heavy rescue, which is a step up from what we currently have.
okay, thank you.
And you made mention that we'll potentially take the existing and then take it to auction or so, and it would potentially, guess estimated, bring between what and what, you think?
I'm just gonna throw out a number between 20 and 40,000. I really think that's the market that you're gonna see, and we'll be lucky to get that. I mean, just because of the age, it's going on over 30 years old. I don't know if you're still gonna see, I don't think you'll see 50,000 for it, like it shows online. I think that's just a broker truck deal, and it's been sitting on there for a while. It hasn't sold, so it's obviously still on the website. So I would think you could probably still get 20 to 25,000 out of it when it's all said and done. Now, there are steps through the state in order to surplus equipment like that. So if I remember right, the statute does state that first we have to offer it up to all districts, territories, and volunteer fire departments in Johnson County first, before we actually sell it to somebody else. So we would have to go, yes, we would be asking to be able to put that up as well, if this deal goes through. So there's a lot of steps, I guess. So the one would be the resolution tonight. I would ask for the approval to do the resolution for the $125,000. We do have money in the GO bond. It was put in for that purpose, was the purpose of a used rescue truck at the time. So the money is sitting there. So I would ask for the approval of the resolution, and then Stephen, I'm not sure how it would work, but I would also ask that we would be able to cut the check going forward without having to bring it back a month later.
Sorry, but that's not seemingly going to be an option unless we have a special meeting. I reviewed the claims statute, and it's very clear that you would have that claim prepared and available for inspection at least 5 days before the council meeting, and obviously that hasn't happened. And so I think we're going to have to bring it back, the claim. And the real, I guess the first step is that the Bargersville Fire Department or district would have to provide an invoice. And then we could process it like a normal claim and then be prepared to, unfortunately, that's how the statute reads.
So do we want to have a special meeting to approve the claim?
Well, Parkersville can wait for their money.
Okay.
And actually, I mean, like I said.
Right, Tim?
I might need a little.
That wouldn't hinder anything?
No, if you need one, I would have no problem with
No,
that.
there's no need. We can just wait. We'll bring it back. And then what I would ask for the next meeting is I'll to be able to surplus.
Eddie needs it.
And get permission to move forward with basically offering it up first to Johnson County departments and then going through the statutory, requirements to sell the truck.
Have a motion at all on 2024-02?
I'll move to approve.
Second.
Mr. Saylor, Mr. Godecker? Take a roll call vote, please.
Tim Brown,
Yes.
Brad Godecker,
Yes.
Deborah Hendrickson,
Yes.
Joe Saylor,
Yes.
Richard Hill.
Yes.
Pass 5-0.
Thank you, sir. New business?
Stephen's up.
Oh,
Yeah.
Mr. Watson?
This should be relatively quick. We talked about, I think at the last meeting, or maybe the meeting before, needing to do bids or invite bids on trash collection. Our 4-year contract will expire, I believe, on July 1 or thereabouts. And so we're in the process of getting that put together and put out for bid. And in order to be able to receive those bids in advance of the council meeting, be able to evaluate those and then present them to the council with an evaluation and recommendation, we would want to open them preferably on Thursday prior to your Tuesday meeting. And to do that efficiently, we would recommend and have done in the past, appointing a bid opening committee. And the best, in my view, representatives for that committee would be the Director of Administration and the Clerk Treasurer, or their designees if they choose to designate someone else.
Are you gonna be there?
I would normally be there,
Yeah,
yes,
that's what I thought.
but I'm not gonna be a member of the.
No,
just
no.
attorney. Just to be clear.
You're Melissa's designee.
So, just to make sure it's clear and official, I would recommend that the Director of Administration and the Clerk Treasurer or their designees be appointed as a bid opening committee for not only the trash collection bidding, but any other bid opening that the town needs to have. Just to have that basically as a standing committee, I think it should be.
I was gonna ask, would this be like for the rest of 2024 or ongoing for?
I would make it indefinite.
Just indefinite?
Yeah.
I'll make a motion to approve appointment of the Director of Administration and the Clerk Treasurer or their designee as bid opening committee for anything that requires bids.
I will second.
Deb and Joe, please, and then roll call vote.
Jim Brown,
Yes.
Brad Godecker,
Yes.
Deborah Hendrickson,
Yes.
Joe Saylor,
Yes.
Richard Hill,
Yes.
passed 5-0.
Thank you.
Ian?
Well, we're back at that time of the year where we have to review the compliance of our abatements. And we have 2 that have been filed so far, and those would be ABC LLC and Wrigley Real Estate Holdings. I provided you with, you should have a summary table like we did last year. I think that worked out pretty well last year.
I don't have that either.
I don't think I have it.
That either.
How about this, council? Would you advise us they're in substantial compliance? Or?
Actually, the last column is compliance recommendation. In both cases, yes.
Want all of it, all of this?
Save some paper.
And that's up to them. And I can
Hold on
pass
for
it.
just a second.
I can pass it, or I can just
Is it in the shared drive?
summarize it.
You just want to, if you'll pass it down.
That's a lot of paper to print. If
We pay someone to analyze these.
I agree. But I didn't see it. So if you could share it on an email would be great, and then I could glance over it and check.
That's my name.
That's what I was looking for.
That's a lot of paper.
Yeah.
And I hate wasting paper.
Waste it like it's nothing.
Nuh-uh.
She's not true.
I'm satisfied.
I bet you will.
In college, she can.
Thank you, sir.
I'll move to find Wrigley Real Estate Holdings LLC in substantial compliance.
Did you intentionally separate?
Can we do it both?
You can
Oh.
do all of them if you want.
I didn't realize we could do them at the same time. Wrigley Real Estate Holdings LLC and ABC Concrete Cutting LLC. That is ABC Concrete Cutting, right?
It's ABC LLC.
Yeah, that's
Concrete.
ABC. Yeah. To find them both in substantial compliance with their CF1s.
I'll second.
Vote,
Jim
please.
Brown,
Yes.
Brad Godecker,
Yes.
Deborah Hendrickson,
Yes.
Joe Saylor,
Yes.
Richard Hill,
Yes.
passed 5-0.
Thank you.
Go to the bathroom.
Oh.
Mr. Watson, are you core five? Are you core five?
Oh, that's Carmen.
And that document that just went around is on the SharePoint, if you guys
Okay.
put it on the town council SharePoint.
Thank you.
So coming before you tonight, PDI Construction did a majority of the work that we were previously talking about as far as the public infrastructure for the Core 5 project. We are ready to dedicate and accept this infrastructure to the town. There's public roadway improvements that include utility extensions of stormwater, sanitary, a walking path, landscaping, and the developer's commitment of extending Bob Glidden Boulevard to Barrett cul-de-sacs. Approximately $2 million, or just over $2 million of infrastructure that was installed. I don't have any documentation in front of you today, but I'm asking for approval pending legal counsel. I know we're going back and forth on quite a few of these, so the construction amounts have been confirmed at the $2,037,309 of infrastructure that was installed, and would like to request your approval pending legal counsel of all the proper maintenance agreement and bond forms.
I got a question. As the town did they turn in punch list?
Yes.
And everything's correct?
Yes, and we've gone back and said, oh, yes, but, we would like 2 more bollards put in. So one of the things that they did that was above the original request is along the property line, which is on the east side of Bob Glidden Boulevard, the extension, it's a cul-de-sac with a gate. People were driving down the Lefebvre property and cutting over to get on the road. And so it was really disturbing the private property owner, the Lefebvres. And so they had asked if there was anything more that we could do. And so Core 5 did go above and beyond and put in some bollards that match those wooden bollards. And fingers crossed, hopefully they stop busting through the gate too. I mean, it's been a bit ridiculous. For the people that said that they didn't want that road extension, sure are finding a way to use it.
How long are the maintenance bond?
The maintenance bond is 3 years.
On all of them,
25%.
on storm, sewer, water and
They
all?
did their performance bond, they did it as one, and that's how they're doing their maintenance as one.
So that does create all of them, because we ended up changing ours. We had a 3-year on everything except for the water, and we went back and changed it all. That way our inspector could go out one time and do all of them. Okay, thank you.
I'll move to approve maintenance bonds and acceptance of dedication of improvements for Core 5, subject to review and approval of legal counsel.
And just to make the record as clear as we can, do you have the specific improvements?
Yes, I rattled them off, but.
I just want to make sure it gets in the, at least in the minutes.
Okay, yes, so I will make sure you can have this, because I have a copy of it. It's
Review and approval by legal counsel, yes.
Okay.
So we can have a second? Do I have a second?
Yes, thank you.
I'll second.
Vote, please.
Yes.
Brad Godecker,
Yes.
Deborah Hendrickson,
Yes.
Joe Saylor,
Yes.
Richard Hill,
Yes.
passes 5-0.
Back to Stephen.
Okay, our state legislature, we're trying to help things out on public meetings, and they adopted a new law that allows local municipalities to adopt policies. It should
We do.
look like
We got that.
this.
Yeah, we've got it.
We got that. That's why I was digging it up.
Yeah.
Takes me a minute.
I've got an extra copy here.
Here, Debbie, you got one now.
It allows local municipalities to adopt policies concerning conduct at public meetings. And if you want to, and personally, I think it's a good idea to help control. Now, we unfortunately haven't had issues in general with attendees causing trouble and so forth, but it can happen. That's what this is trying to address and give you a little more ability to control that and make it clear that if someone's being disruptive, your police can support that building and so forth. So just want to make sure you were aware of this. It takes effect July 1, and if you wanted to create and adopt this kind of a policy, you just, need to decide that you want to do that and direct us to prepare one for your consideration. And it shouldn't be adopted until July 1. So you've got a little time to think about it, but I want them at least to make you aware of it.
I'd be in favor of probably want it to be a little bit more specific than just the statute. Specific behaviors that are considered disruptive, and then like profanity and that sort of thing. And then I would also want something in it, so I'm pretty certain there's probably gonna be a court challenge to it. I would want something in it that, content or viewpoint of any, non-profane, whatever you wanna call it, cannot serve as a violation of policy. That would be my initial thought anyway.
So this is something that's brand new through the state, that they've never had anything like this?
Correct.
Really?
Yeah, now, it doesn't mean that you couldn't do anything before this law came into effect, but it just makes it clear that you are expressly authorized to control your meetings, and in particular, your police have clear authorization
Right.
to step in if they're in violation of a policy.
Yeah, I think this just backs us,
Probably a good idea to have
Gives us
that to
support.
protect people, I guess.
Does that mean we're gonna have a police officer at every meeting
Every
then?
meeting, if you do this, you should have one every meeting. I should say, you're always here, so
Well, when there's a race.
well, if there's someone else that would have to step in, you see a second one come in, so at least one of them would be here.
Yeah, we've got two tonight, so something going
It
on.
would require an officer to be here at every board meeting. You sign something like this, they'd automatically have to schedule it on the schedule to have someone here. If you couldn't make it, yes, right. I agree 100%. You should be here regardless.
With all due respect, I'm not sure that it would mandate or require you to have a police officer present at all your meetings. But I haven't reviewed it that cllosely.
I think it authorizes the police to use a certain degree of force. I don't know that it would create a criminal trespass an arrestable criminal trespass violation or not. I think it could, but it's not really clear.
But if we have to call them, then it's getting out of hand pretty quick, and minutes count. An active shooting situation. Okay, well, that's fine. I'm okay with that. Because if it goes down, we're all going. Let's be honest. But to be honest, with an active shooter, he can come in immediately. And then if any of us have to take that, they're gonna follow the police advice quicker than they are us. They're gonna understand that situation, and he's gonna control it. It's the same thing that I do at my church when I'm on the safety team there. We have an officer there at all time. That way, if there is, the officer steps in, takes care of it, and we're there to help and assist in it. So in our best interest, I think it'd be best for us to have a police officer here.
I need a gun.
The other comment I might have is, you're probably gonna know if there's something on your agenda that's, a hot button. And you can ask for an officer to be sure to be there in those situations.
We've done that before.
Oh, I do think, is there a consensus among the council for our public comment? I think we currently have a unwritten, 2 or 3 minute policy. We should probably put that in.
I agree.
People to speak.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that way keeps hostility down if they
Because
only.
sometimes that's when they get hostile, is when you don't let them speak. So if we have that in there.
And they think it's based on what
Yeah.
they said or.
Those 3 minutes sound reasonable?
I think it's more than reasonable. There's a lot can be said in 3 minutes.
I'll say that's a lot of time.
It's a lot of time.
I mean, obviously, if we have questions or whatever, that doesn't count against their time.
Right, that wouldn't interrupt their time. I think that's how you did it in the past.
Yeah, I did.
From what I understood when I come to the other ones. And I
Do we need to vote or have a motion to like do something like this for the town?
Tonight, no. If you want to direct, us to prepare something,
So we can go over
you
it.
just give me consensus that you want it done, that's fine. It's up to you guys. If you want to give direction tonight or wait and take it up again.
I would like a police officer here at every time. That's just my opinion. I just think it's safer for all of us to have to be the one who takes control if something nasty goes on. I think it's more better if we have them guys what's in uniform, what's trained. They're gonna probably not be as high-headed with them sitting in the office. I mean, that's just my opinion.
Well, Rick's usually here, and when he's
Right.
not, he'll make sure somebody else is.
That's all I'm asking for.
Are you speaking specifically to town council meetings or?
Town council meetings.
Okay, all right.
Cause this is where they really.
I don't think the
go.
stormwater board needs it.
I don't
Never know.
do it too much.
Hey.
I don't know, it makes them kind of mad.
Not yet.
I know somebody.
The underbelly of the stormwater.
So you just go right like that.
So do we need to have a vote for that or just vote by acclamation?
No, I think
Or just-
as long as we give them a consensus to work on it, that's all we need.
Yep.
Yeah, I think you,
I think you have consensus.
Okay,
You have consensus?
thank you.
put something together and bring it back.
Thank you.
Appreciate that. I was wondering that when I didn't say nothing about law
Let's go back to Carmen, opiate, yeah.
So the opioid settlement fund, we've talked about this briefly at another council meeting, and Mr. Saylor, at that point, we had kind of said, what would you guys want to do with this money? And you gave a suggestion of maybe looking at treating women that are pregnant or postpartum that have an opioid addiction. And so the last couple of months, the Johnson County the health department and the commissioners have brought together municipalities to see if they want to partner and see if we could, potentially join our dollars to be able to do more. And it's kind of gone back and forth on what the goal would be to how to distribute the money. And what they've kind of come up with is more of a grant program that would allow any organization within Johnson County or that serves Johnson County individuals to apply for this grant funding to potentially get the money so they can, do their life-saving measures. Sorry, that was a little rambly. But basically, the state of Indiana received drug money, the money from Johnson & Johnson and then the drug in the way that it was disseminated down from the state, each municipality did receive dollars. We're at the point where the town of Whiteland does not receive more than $5,000. And so from now on, all of our restricted money goes automatically to the county. But we have our received dollars to date, which is just about $14,000, $15,000 that we would like to request to keep here that we could maybe use for, if we need Narcan or we need some sort of supplies that are related to opioids. The restricted dollars are the only ones that are specific that have to be used towards what the intent was. But my whole point is that we don't really have enough money to do anything. I'd rather us do it together as a joint effort. Even though our monies are now going directly to the county, they have offered us a seat at the table to help be a part of this selection when the grants are applied. So I guess my question is that I would like to propose participation on this advisory council, that the designee could either be a council member if you so serve, or you could serve as that representative on that advisory committee. And then my other request is that the restricted funds to date, I would potentially like to request that we take those restricted funds, which so far we've received $10,663.93, be transferred by a resolution to the Johnson County Opioid Remediation Grant Program. Again, but we would keep the unrestricted dollars for anything that we would need, but to, again, throw a little extra money towards the majority of the program. I think I had put in here the total that Johnson County is looking to receive, total, and I don't know if my eyeballs will let me see this, but Johnson County receives the majority of the share. Over the 18 years of the settlement, they'll receive $5.4 million. And so, and we'll receive $39,000. So, my first question is back to the grant program. If any of you all would like to be part of this, we're looking at maybe one, possibly two rounds, but looking at an estimate of about $200,000 to be given out in the first year. And it would be kind of a learning, like a trial and error. Let's see what works. All of the applicants would have to provide reports back on how many people they served, again, with a focus on Johnson County. So
I'll volunteer if nobody else wants to.
All right.
I'm retired.
I'll make a motion to appoint Deb as our liaison representative to the opiate committee.
I'll second. Well, I didn't want to interrupt in case he wanted to.
Have a vote, please.
Tim Brown,
Yes.
Brad Goodchecker,
Yes.
Deborah Hendrickson,
Abstain. Well, I mean, I should vote for myself.
Taylor,
Yes.
Richard Hill,
Yes.
pass 4-1.
and then regarding the restricted funds we've received to date, would there be any heartburn or with us doing a transfer and providing those to the opioid program? Again, it's $10,663.93. Or we can keep it and put it towards what the restricted dollars are intended for. Again, to do a meaningful program, I personally feel that it would be very hard to.
I thought at one point we had provided some funds or allocated funds to Terra Treatment Center.
We discussed it, but we never actually. But they could be one of the applicants that could apply for, potentially $50,000. So far, the grant program is to go up to $50,000 is what every team could apply for.
In Whiteland, if we combined our funds, Whiteland wouldn't be left out of the pool of, right? It'd be selective to Johnson County and having a representative would help.
That has nothing to do with it. Like,
No.
we could keep the restricted money and just use it for what it's intended for. On the restricted, there's certain criteria. Again, for us to do anything impactful, the money could sit there for 18 years. We will not receive any more restricted money. That automatically is going to count.
Right.
We're not bringing in enough. But we can hang on to it and see what we want to do, but, again, we've got 18 years of this, and there's other lawsuits out there against some of the other pharmaceutical companies, and so there may be more dollars down the road.
I think I'd be fine with putting it toward the grant program. I'll move to.
I hate to give up the interest.
I'll move to
3% on
to grudgingly send that to Johnson County.
Have a second? Did you second, Brian?
Second, sure, absolutely.
Take a vote on that, please.
Tim Brown, Brad Goodchecker,
Yes.
Deborah Hendrickson, Joe Saylor,
Yes.
Richard Hill,
Yes.
pass 5-0.
We'll come back next month with a resolution, or maybe not next month, because we're going to go to Johnson County and approvals, so. That's it on that. It is way better than I'll go ahead and go into my report real quick. The utility study draft 2, I was hoping to have that a week or so ago, but they are really doing a good job, and we keep having projects, because we keep having empty that are causing us to take have something for you next month. Again, maybe we'll have some individual conversations just to help dig into it, and what you guys are looking at, as far as water and sewer. And then the stormwater board will discuss the stormwater, rate study potentially.
Can I get that earlier then? I'd like to have at least 2 weeks to really study that. Okay, that's all I'm asking, just if I could get it a little bit early for me, because I'm slower at reading everything, and I'd really like to have a few extra days.
Okay.
Thank you.
We're after a year out after the tornado, we still have a couple properties that have done nothing. So it's becoming a nuisance. We're getting calls from the residents that are around those properties, we've made contact with those property owners to kind of encourage them to get moving, to need help, what is the challenge. And so we've started code enforcement, nuisance violations on them. What would you like for us to do? Because normally when we have code enforcement situations, we will bring them to the council and allow them an opportunity to speak. Technically, our code, in the letter when they receive their violation, they can request a meeting to come before the council, but the way we've kind of handled it is the council will invite them to come to the council and kind of state their case and where they're at with things. What would you like to do? Some of them are starting to, like, we've had cases of mice and, other, somebody said rats, but I don't know that I've seen a rat. I would say it's a really big mouse or a small raccoon.
Baby possum.
Baby possums, yes. So I guess it's a year out. We've made some special relationships with folks that we felt needed some extra help in getting to that next step. But if we're getting to the point where it's now disruptive to those that have rebuilt and are trying to move on from the tornado.
Now, are they gonna actually make progress, or is it a matter of them finally deciding to sell the product, the property to someone that will do something with it? Because I know for some people that's difficult, but it's like painfully obvious that's what will happen, but there's no one pushing them to do it.
That's what I'm hoping us is helping. So 2 of the properties were rental properties. Nobody has lived in them since the tornado. They have changed owners, but that new owner has done nothing. Another property, the health department has been involved because we were told there were people living in the home. Now they're living in the RV in the back, which is against our code. And they're plugged into the house using an extension cord situation, so.
Are you talking about the chief's trailer?
No.
Funkhauser Estates?
No. They have wired electricity and.
We do have the mice.
Yeah, they have the mice because of the properties around it. But they have the mice because of those properties around it's the Pearl Street area. You can drive down there and see.
What about the garage that's on my street? It's a shambles. It's
the shed.
It's like a garage though. It's
yeah,
big.
He's got a dumpster now. He's making progress. So that's where we are.
It's so unsafe.
Super lenient. Yeah, he's got 2x4s kind of propping it up. Yes. So we try to give as much leniency as possible and get them like, do you need help? Do you need a dumpster? Do you need, what we can do that we feel is just the right thing to do. But like I said, with the rental properties that are now in a different a different landlord's name, and they've not done anything because they're trying to come up with money, and it's like, well, you had money to buy the property, I guess that's my concern. So would you like for us to make them request a meeting at the council, or that we tell them they have to come to the next council meeting?
Invite them to the next council meeting would be my thought.
Sounds good.
Is there any way we can get some pictures or stuff of this place? And that way we can have it in our brochure and stuff? I know where she's talking.
To
Yes,
us.
yeah.
I've been over there several times, so I know exactly what you're talking about. So,
Just a real quick update. So last week we had the sinkhole out on Whiteland Road. That was a stormwater, I don't want to say collapse, but it was caused due to a a stormwater pipe that needs repaired. So that is something that was on our capital improvement list to be repaired and replaced from all the way to the ditch to Center Street. But just wanted to give that update for Slim, on behalf of Slim. He's actually out right now. We had a sewer main collapse last week in the Pearl Street area, but not an alley, but behind the property on the north side of Pearl, behind like Tip Top Motors. And so he's out there. They set up a pump. They're going to start. We're trying to find easements. Can't find easements, so I'm going to be talking to Stephen afterwards on our next steps on what to do there, because it's an unplatted area. So there's no recorded easements that we can find. But so that's a repair that he'll be working on here soon, and that's where he's at tonight. Water was spewing out all over the road, and so he's getting everything pumped down there. So obviously our infrastructure is, some of it is not as smooth of repair, which is why these rate studies will help for us to be able to make those repairs to our infrastructure. So those are all my updates.
I got one question, and I know this is a slim question, but I'm gonna bring it up to you for you to get back with me. If there's no easements and stuff, why aren't we talking about lining the pipe, go from manhole to manhole with an interior liner? What keeps us out of easements and keeps us from buying them?
The pipe is gone.
Right, but liners can still work in a gone pipe.
Like,
Where you put it in, it heats up and it sends through.
Yeah.
We've done a lot in 3-notch. We've experimented with it, and it's really worked wonders. It's not tearing up yards. It's not backfilling roads with cost of stone. It's a really nice. It's been around a long time.
Right.
Everybody shied away from it because of things you had to do, but now with technology, they can actually send a machine down there and it cuts out each lateral. Cuts it out, opens it back up. Everything's done from inside the pipe itself. So I was just curious if that's something that we're considering, because if I'm not mistaken, this might be 12 to 15 feet deep.
Yes.
And I know we're not set up box-wise to dig that deep, and I'd hate to see. Right, but 2 boxes have to be at least 20 foot long. Yeah, and well, I know because I've dealt with this many times when I was in excavator too. And I know that the excavator we got won't pull them 2 boxes, not the heavy. It's just something I want to make sure that we're really taking care of the guys, making sure that they don't get in an unsafe situation. I've seen it happen, and I've seen really terrible things happen. And he can vouch for me. It goes from a rescue to a recovery rescue to a recovery pretty fast when a ditch caves in, and that's something that we need to be concerned on our guys. If we have to pay a contractor to come in, I know we got to cut off, and it's 8 feet. If it's more than 8 feet, we're not set up with boxes and stuff like that. I'd rather see us pay a contractor to keep our guys safe in the field and get it fixed where they actually set up with boxes, big excavators, and they come in, they know what they're doing. Not saying that you guys don't, just saying that our safety is not as strong as another company might be. I've seen some of our boxes and stuff, and that was my only concern. So
Does Slim have the adequate supplies and trenching boxes to dig to, you say that whole 12?
20 feet.
Yeah.
But I know that we have 2 sets of trench boxes, and then
Right.
his main thing is he will not let, I mean, he is, you wouldn't think it, but he is on the up and up as far as safety, and our guys just did, one, an OSHA training on the trench boxes, and that, so, oh no, that's not getting ready.
Correct. I just did an OSHA 20 or 30 class on trenching, so yeah.
Safety is obviously of the utmost importance, making sure that they're not risking that. And he would even call it like if somebody's not.
Well, I've had some concerns in the past. Some people stop me and ask me, out in the field, out his resident, seen the depot over here at CarQuest, and they said, well, we got a 5-foot box and a 9-foot hole. Yeah, that doesn't meet it. So that's why I'm curious. I want to make sure that if we're going to fix it, we need to get the boxes to make sure these guys are all in the whole box. and make sure that they don't step out at any given time. Because that's usually when trouble happens, the moment they think it's safe and they walk out. And that's my only concern, is just to the men. So I'll just have them call me.
All right.
That'd be great. Thank you.
Mr. Ship.
Oh, he had a lot of things.
3 minutes.
Robin, Derek, toss you out of here.
Just to give you a quick briefing on our event, we had not one major incident that concerned the town or the citizens. I was amazed as we drove around throughout the community, how much community involved, families were together. Now, getting ready to observe, this eclipse, having a good time. And absolutely no problem with traffic. We had no problems out of the citizens, which speaks highly of our citizens that behaved and just had good family time, it looked like, around, which kind of reminded you of the small town values that we all look forward to. Give an update on our radios. We had them ready to go. We fine-tuned them, so now we've got an emergency radio system. If we have an emergency, somewhere we've got to go backup radios, they're ready to go. Out real good. Late this afternoon, I got an email from a citizen in Park Forest, and I apologize for bringing it up late, but I did get the late email. That's wanted to address some concerns. He had a concern on Sawmill, south of Whiteland Road, where it drops off pretty bad if you get off the side of the road and scrapes, or if a trailer gets off, it grinds out, and he said he's about been hit on a couple times from out of there. Just was wanting, and I haven't had a chance to come because I just got it late.
Yeah.
We can get with you and address that.
Unfortunately, that's mostly county.
Right, and that's county, so. Then he was concerned, and we have tried to address this. There's a cable as you enter Milestone, south off Sawmill. There's a utility cable. It's a phone cable that's not been put back up correct. We've tried to contact them several times. They've not come out yet. Maybe get with you in the town and send them a letter.
And just real quick, the town of Bargersville has been using this gal, and she actually has her offices here in Whiteland now. We had a call today where a pole came down in someone's backyard. We were like, call Bargersville, call RAMC, thinking of the quick. And of course, it was neither of them, and it was a communication company. We called Natasha. She found out quickly. She has Brightspeed's maps. She has all the maps.
Yeah.
And she made a call and she said they'll be out tomorrow to pick up the pole. And we're not even contracted with her, so get me the.
Okay. Because he even went as far as a measure 62 inches up, and he said.
That's amazing.
Riding a bike by it, so. Just some concerns that he was addressing that we can do. And last but not least, I wish he was here, but I'm gonna throw some love out to Slim. As you know, we had that big sinkhole, and it come at a bad time to where we was expecting all this eclipse traffic and stuff. It was a major sinkhole by the baseball diamond here on Whiteland Road by the bridge. It was pretty nasty weather even to work in, but, without thinking at all, Slim and his crew come out, started working on it. We had the road shut down. We had to shut down which is a major road, Whiteland Road. So we had to have it shut down, and got it shut down, and they worked throughout. And they got it back up and going. I just want to speak, this speaks highly on the caliber of personnel this town has. The ability that they have to go in and repair this major dam and repair it right and open that road back up within less than 2 days. With a major event coming through, it really helped the police department, and it really freed us up to where we didn't have to stay directing traffic. It's just a huge factor, and I want to give them a big shout out. I mean, they got down in there, they worked till it was done, and it's just huge to know that I've got this kind of people we can go to, and they can fix the project without having to sublet it out to where we're waiting a week or two to get it fixed, and we got the road shut down for weeks. So I just want to give a big shout out. It was excellent at what they did, and they deserve a lot of credit for that. It showed the expertise and the caliber of people that this town has working for them, and they deserve great credit of getting it going, so.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
You don't have a bad department yourself, so.
We tried.
I was very impressed that they got it up.
Mr. Funkhauser, do you have any other comments at all?
No.
You sure?
He's got his fire truck, he's happy.
He's good.
Council?
Nothing.
Any other public comments at all? None?
Everybody,
Go ahead and adjourn the meeting.
all right,
Thanks, everyone.
thank you.